From a collection of struggling colonies to the preeminent global superpower, the story of the United States of America is one of unparalleled transformation. How did this nation rise to such prominence on the world stage? Today, we'll embark on an epic journey through history to uncover the key events and milestones that shaped America's path to power. It all began with a desire for freedom and self-governance. Brave pioneers and visionaries laid the foundation for a nation built on the ideals of liberty and democracy. Through trials and tribulations, from a brutal civil war that nearly tore it apart to a relentless push westward, America grew and evolved, driven by a belief in its manifest destiny. In the 20th century, the United States emerged as a global superpower, shaping the world through 2 world wars, technological advancements, and a steadfast commitment to civil rights and democracy. Join us as we explore the incredible journey of America's rise from a fledgling colony to a global powerhouse. This is the story of a nation's ascent. This is America's rise. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more historical deep dives. In the early 1600s, English settlers established the first permanent colonies in North America. Jamestown, founded in 1607, was the first enduring English settlement, struggling against harsh conditions and conflicts with indigenous peoples. A few years later, in 1620, the Pilgrims arrived at Plymouth Rock, seeking religious freedom and establishing another foothold in the New World. Throughout the 17th and early 18th centuries, the American colonies grew rapidly. Each colony developed distinct economies and cultures: New England with its shipbuilding and fishing industries, the Middle colonies known for their fertile lands and trade, and the Southern colonies with their vast plantations and reliance on slave labor. By the mid-1700s, the colonies were a mosaic of diverse communities, thriving through trade and agriculture. Despite their growth, the colonies remained under British rule, and tensions began to rise. The British government imposed a series of taxes and regulations, like the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts, which were deeply unpopular. The principle of taxation without representation galvanized colonial resistance, leading to protests and events like the Boston Tea Party in 1773, where American colonists famously dumped British tea into Boston Harbor as a bold act of defiance. By 1775, the escalating tensions between the colonies and Britain erupted into the Revolutionary War. The conflict began with battles at Lexington and Concord and soon spread throughout the colonies. The Continental Army, led by General George Washington, faced numerous challenges but persevered through key victories at Saratoga and enduring the harsh winter at Valley Forge. The desire for independence was formalized on July 4, 1776, when the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. Drafted by Thomas Jefferson, this seminal document declared the colonies free from British rule and articulated the Enlightenment ideals of liberty, equality, and self-governance that would define the new nation. After years of hard-fought battles, the American victory at Yorktown in 1781 proved decisive. With the support of French allies, the Continental Army's siege forced the British surrender. The subsequent Treaty of Paris, signed in 1783, officially ended the war and recognized American independence. The new nation faced the immense task of building a unified government and society from the ground up. With independence secured, the United States looked westward for new opportunities. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson negotiated the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the nation's size and opening vast new territories for exploration and settlement. The Lewis and Clark expedition mapped these lands, paving the way for pioneers and settlers. The concept of manifest destiny, the belief that Americans were destined to expand across the continent, drove westward expansion. Homesteaders, fortune seekers in the gold rush of 1849, and thousands of settlers followed trails like the Oregon Trail in search of land and prosperity. The construction of the Transcontinental Railroad in the 1860s further accelerated westward migration, linking the eastern states with the Pacific coast and fueling economic growth. Despite its growth, the nation was deeply divided over the issue of slavery. These divisions erupted into the Civil War in 1861. Under President Abraham Lincoln's leadership, the Union fought to preserve the nation and end slavery. Landmark moments like the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which declared the freedom of enslaved people in Confederate states, and the Union victory at Gettysburg were pivotal. The war concluded in 1865 with the Confederacy's surrender, leading to the abolition of slavery and the beginning of Reconstruction, a tumultuous period aimed at rebuilding the South and integrating formerly enslaved people into American society. The late 19th century ushered in the Industrial Revolution, transforming the United States into an industrial powerhouse. Innovations in manufacturing, such as the assembly line perfected by Henry Ford, revolutionized production. Railroads and steam engines connected the country, facilitating the movement of goods and people. Rapid urbanization saw cities like New York, Chicago, and Detroit swell with immigrants and workers seeking new opportunities. The turn of the century brought significant social and political changes during the Progressive Era. Leaders like President Theodore Roosevelt pushed for reforms to address the challenges of industrialization, including labor rights, antitrust laws, and environmental conservation. Journalists known as muckrakers exposed corruption and social injustices, while movements for women's suffrage and labor rights gained momentum, leading to significant legislative achievements like the establishment of the 8-hour workday and the ratification of the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. America's involvement in World War I marked its emergence as a global power. Although the United States initially sought to remain neutral, it entered the war in 1917 to support the Allies. The American Expeditionary Forces played a crucial role in the final offensives of the war. President Woodrow Wilson's vision for a post-war world, encapsulated in his 14 points, laid the groundwork for the League of Nations, an early attempt at creating a global governance body to ensure peace and cooperation, though the U.S. Senate ultimately rejected joining the League. The prosperity of the 1920s came to a devastating halt with the stock market crash of 1929, which plunged the nation into the Great Depression. Banks failed, unemployment soared, and widespread poverty became the norm. The Dust Bowl of the 1930s compounded the crisis, devastating the agricultural heartland and forcing many to migrate westward in search of work. In response, President Franklin D. Roosevelt launched the New Deal, a series of ambitious programs designed to revive the economy and provide relief. Initiatives like the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, and the Works Progress Administration, WPA, created jobs, while Social Security and other safety nets were established to protect the most vulnerable. The attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 drew the United States into World War II. Mobilizing on an unprecedented scale, America became the arsenal of democracy, producing vast quantities of military equipment and supplies. American forces fought on multiple fronts, from North Africa to Europe and the Pacific. The D-Day invasion of Normandy in 1944 and the subsequent Allied victories highlighted American military prowess. The war ended with the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, solidifying America's status as a superpower. The post-war period saw the beginning of the Cold War, a geopolitical and ideological struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. Early confrontations included the Berlin Airlift, where the U.S. supplied West Berlin amid a Soviet blockade, and the formation of NATO as a military alliance against Soviet expansion. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, marked another flashpoint, with American forces fighting to prevent the spread of communism. Domestically, the United States experienced significant social changes. The civil rights movement sought to end racial segregation and discrimination, achieving landmark victories like the Brown v. Board of Education decision and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. and activists across the country fought tirelessly for equality and justice. The Cold War also spurred technological competition, most notably in the space race. After the Soviet Union launched Sputnik in 1957, the United States redoubled its efforts. President John F. Kennedy's goal to land a man on the moon was realized in 1969 with the Apollo 11 mission, symbolizing American ingenuity and determination.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
The Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975, was a contentious and divisive conflict, leading to widespread protests and challenging the nation's foreign policy. The war's human and economic toll, combined with the Watergate scandal, which led to President Richard Nixon's resignation, prompted a period of introspection and change. The 1980s and early 1990s saw a thawing of Cold War tensions. Diplomatic efforts and arms reduction talks between leaders like Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev played key roles. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the end of the Cold War, establishing the United States as the world's sole superpower. Entering the 21st century, the United States faced new challenges. The September 11, 2001, attacks reshaped American foreign and domestic policies, leading to the War on Terror and prolonged conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. The 2008 financial crisis tested the resilience of the American economy, prompting significant reforms and interventions. Despite these challenges, the United States continued to lead in technological innovation and cultural influence. Silicon Valley emerged as a global tech hub, revolutionizing communication, entertainment, and industry. American cultural exports, from Hollywood films to music and fashion, have a profound impact worldwide. Today, the United States faces a complex array of issues, including climate change, political polarization, and evolving global dynamics. Nevertheless, it remains a beacon of democracy and a leader in international efforts to address global challenges. The nation's diverse and dynamic society continues to drive its progress and influence. From its humble beginnings as a collection of colonies to its current status as a global superpower, the United States has demonstrated an extraordinary ability to adapt, innovate, and lead. As we look to the future, America's journey remains a testament to its enduring spirit and commitment to the ideals of liberty, equality, and democracy. Thank you for joining us on this journey through America's rise to power. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth historical explorations. What topics would you like us to cover next? Let us know in the comments below.